immune system stable through the autoimmune tolerance and immune regulation. This class, we talk about the immune organs and mucosa-associated lymphoid tissues. Detailing. The title of this chapter is Immune Organs and Mucosa-associated lymphoid tissues. Okay. The immune system includes organs, immune cytos, and immune molecules. Immune organ and immune tissues also divided into two groups. The one group is central immune organs. It also means primary lymphoid organs. And the other group is named peripheral immune organ. It's also called secondary lymphoid organs. And immune cytos include several kinds of cells, such as lymphocytes, and such as the T, B cell, and the NK cell, natural killer cells. And the macrophage DC B cells, also called APC, the antigen-presenting cells. And the other cell, such as neutrophil, basophil, eosinophil, and ACT. All those cells have together to called immunocytes. And immune molecules, such as antibody, complement, cytokine, DC molecular, and adherence molecular. It also includes MHC molecular. Because due to maybe here is used due to the cell don't like the person the cell have no eyes and hands. So how to the cell to feel or touch the or to get the information from surround the environment. It rely on the molecular on the surface of the cells. All the part of this list, from the organs to the immunocytes and immune molecules, we will talk about them in the future lessons, one by one. So this course will focus the topic about this limbs. So today our task is to introduce the organism and the immune tissues. As the picture shows, the immune organs and most mucosa associated lymphoid tissues, which make entirety for our body to against the infections. The primary organs, including bone marrow and stomachs, which is the site of lysogenesis and the development of the lymphocyte. And the secondary organs include several kinds of organ or tissues, which is the site of lymphocyte treatment and immune response. But in fact, we won't usually use distinguish the immune organs by using the primary organs and the secondary organs. And we would like call them the central lymphoid organs and peripheral lymphoid organs, like this. The central lymphoid organs, which is the maturation of lymphocyte take place, and the peripheral lymphoid organs responsible for the settlement and immune response for the lymphocyte. Now, okay, we will introduce the organs one by one. At first, we can see the central lymphoid organs. As I said before, the central lymphoid organs, including bone marrow and thymus. Here, we can see another kind of another name is basal of fabricus. The site of the B cell mutation in birth. We can see here the picture shows the chicken with a thymus for the T cell maturation and the basal of fabricus for the B cell maturation. Why did the birds have no bone marrow or have no the barrel for the B cell maturation? Because I think in birds the basal of fabricus is the site of the B cell to maturation rather than bone marrow. Maybe the birds weakened the bone marrow in the course of evolution could reduce the weight for flight. We can see the right picture. It is the bone of the chicken is what is a hollow, just like an empty or tubers. So this bone will reduce her weight. The birds can fly very convenient. Well, it must be involved a new organ for the B cell to maturation. Okay, let me see. Let's see the bone marrow. The bone marrow is the site of generation of all circulating blood cells in the adult, including immature lymphocytes, and is the site of B cell maturation. Well, we can see the bone marrow of the human beings. So is filled with marrow. It's not empty, right? However, the the marrow possesses two kinds of corners: the yellow marrow and the red marrow. Actually, only the red marrow performs the function of hematopoiesis, and the yellow marrow means it's substituted by adipose tissues. What is the meaning? The red marrow is have the normal function for immune response, such as uh, uh, the produce all kinds of cell, but the yellow marrow lost the function of that. So if a question asks you, well, which marrow produce the cell, is red marrow. The red marrow. So we can know more about the function of the bone marrow. The bone marrow is the site of generation of immune cells, and the bone marrow also the site of differentiation and maturation of immune cells. And the third, here the bone marrow is also the site of immune response of B cell, especially the secondary immune response. We will see it one by one. The site of the generation of all cytos. As we all know, the cells in the body come from the stem cells, and the stem cells is produced by the bone marrow, and then the stem cells differentiated to another kind of cells, such as liver cells, muscle cells, blood cells, and liver cells, and another. So the marrow, but the bone marrow is the only key point for the or the only key site for the generation of all cytos. And another is another point is bone marrow is the site of differentiation and maturation of lymphocytes. We can see the after the lymphocytes emerge, he the cytol will self-renew the stem cells and differentiate into the pluripotent stem cells, and these cells were divided into two kinds of cells. The one is named myeloid progenitor, and the other one is named lymphoid progenitor. And the myeloid progenitor and the lymphoid progenitor from the same parents, but differentiated into different groups of cells. At last, finally, so many kinds of different cells emerged. We can see so many kinds of cells under the line, under the bomb. Yeah. Each group of the cell perform the different function. We will talk about them in the future lessons. We have a chapter named chamber. We have a chamber named immune cells to introduce those cells. And the cell function of bone marrow is the bone marrow is the immune response of B cell for secondary immune response. Here we can see that it addressed the function for secondary immune response because the B cell differentiated into the plasma B cell, just the plasma cell. The plasma cell have the ability to produce antibody. At the same time, the active B cell differentiated into the memory B cell. The memory B cell will transform to the bone marrow and live there. After the second infection by the same bacteria or virus or another foreign substance, the membrane B cell will quickly active and produce much more antibody, and the antibody will follow the blood flow sent to the around of the body. So this is why said that the bone marrow is the B cell for secondary immune response. We can see this picture can understand it. Okay, the next organ is thymus. The thymus is the site of T cell differentiation and maturation. Due to the thymus I think is a specificity for T cell to differentiation and the maturity. So the T cell called T cell. The T is from the thymus. The first capital T. Because the T cell is matured in the thymus. The thymus is a lymphoid organ located in the lower part of the leg and front of the chest. With age, the thymus becomes smaller and loses most its active immune cells. It means that with when you're the old man, when you're old, your thymus will lose more function, and when young, the strength of the thymus for immune response is higher. The outside of the thymus contain lymphoid stem cells that divide rapidly, produce cells that mature into cells. Those T cells then migrate to the middle of the thymus. Detail of the growth. Oh, sorry. There are also cells in the thymus that release the hormones, single or chemicals that cause the T cell to grow. Here is the thymus tissue sections and the diagram on the right. We can see the picture. The thymus is packed with the several kinds of cells. In the context, it's filled with thymocytes, macrophage, epithelial cells, and dendritic cells. And the dendritic cell and epithelial cell much more in the medullary cell line. Cells in thymus and thymus microenvironment. As we see in the picture, the cell in the thymus divided into two groups. The group one is stromal cells. And this kind of cell include four kinds of cells, such as thymus epithelial cells, fibrocytes, and macrophage, dendritic cells. Those four kinds of cells, is provide a unique thymus microenvironment. For whom? For the thymocytes. Because the thymocytes is arrived there is immature. The TSC, in other words, the four kinds of cells provide a micro environment for the thymocytes to grow and differentiation. Just the thymus, just a school, the TSC include four kinds of different cell. It just like four course, four teachers responsible for different course, and the thymocytes just like the students. So after the teachers teaching, the school will learn more about the knowledge and to mature. So the thymocytes is at the help of TSC's help, and finally it mature. So here we can see the thymus in microenvironment is the TSC secreted the thymus hormones and cytokines, and also interaction between cell by different contact, and finally help the T cell to maturation. Here is the diagram about the cell, the immature T cell to maturity. The immature T cell from the bone marrow arrived the seminal through blood vessels. After follow the bladder arrow and go to the different zoo and through the different microenvironments, and finally passed the positive selection and lective selection, and finally become a mature T cell. The mature T cell here have the ability to take part in the immune response to against the infection after activation. The process of somatic lective selection is the process of central immunity tolerance. After the lective selection, the T cell avoid to attack it against the body self. So here is means that the mature T cell have two I think is have two characteristics. The one is after the T cell maturation, it can take part in the immune response, and the response just against the foreign substance. The second one is the T cell won't attack your self components. You can imagine that if the T cell attacked yourself, is a very terrible thing. That so the function of thymus will list here. The first one is the development and the differentiation of lymphocytes in thymus, such as TSC interact with thymocytes directly and adhesion molecules. TSC secrete the various cytokines and thymus hormones, and the thymocytes secrete the various of cytokines. Those components will help the T cell to maturity. And the secretion of cytokines will follow from the thymus. It can also to regulation the immune response in the other part of the body. So here list the second function is immune regulation of the thymus. The key component is the cytokine. The cytokine will also named in the future lessons. Here should be remember the function of the thymus. The one is development and differentiation of lymphocytes in thymus, and the another is immune regulation of the thymus. And part two, the peripheral lymphoid organs. This part is the site where lymphocytes locate response for foreign antigens, produce specific antibody and synthesized T cell and or T lymphocytes. Here we will introduce the four kinds of uh, peripheral lymphoid organs: lymph node, spleen, mucosal associated lymphoid tissues, and cutaneous associated lymphoid tissues. The lymphocyte, lymph nodes. Lymph nodes are the organ in which adaptive immune response to lymph-borne antigens are initiated. Lymph nodes are small oval structures that can be anywhere from 1 millimeter to 25 millimeter big. Blood vessels and liver attached to the lymph nodes, as well as two sets of lymphatic vessels. Those are enter the lymph node, and those are leave it. We can see the two set of lymphatic vesicles here. Afferent lymphatic vessels and which one is afferent lymphatic vessels. One response for enter and one response for out. The lymph enter from one side and slowly move past all the cells of the lymph node before leaving through the other lymphatic vessel. This allows the lymphocytes to access as many of the lymphatic cells as possible. In the lymph node, there is a dense packaging of immune cells such as macrophage. So we can see the lymph node just like a filter for the lymph liquid. And in the lymph node, a very important blood vessels is named high endothelial venule. We also call the HEV. The HEV are specialized venules found in lymphoid tissues. Lymphocytes migrate from blood into lymphoid tissue by attaching to and migrating across the high HEVs of the vessels. We can imagine that if the lymph node have no the HEV, the lymphocyte maybe cannot arrive to the lymph node. Sorry. So the HIV is a very important structure in the lymph node. And we can see here the summary the function of lymph nodes. Filter and eliminated foreign antigens, and the site of immune response, and the side of left side re, resistance and the source of the recirculation cells. This is a diagram of lymph nodes. The segregation of B cell and T cell in lymph nodes. The T and B cell are relatively well partitioned in the lymph nodes. This showed the B cell or T cell have a relative individual place to live. Those are the lymph nodes. They are in the lymph nodes. Nodes. They are big eaters and will engulf and destroy anything dangerous that they can. And they also play a role in showing those substances to the T or B cells. There are also area of lymph nodes called general centers, where all the B cell multiply to fight off infection. In other part of the lymph node, there are mostly T cells. When they lead to the lymphocytes leave the lymph node and enter the circulation for fighting to fight infection. The lymph node have the are there as a filter for the lymph before it in retain the virus resistance. 99% of all the foreign substances that arrived at the lymph nodes are removed. Lymph nodes are found in the foreign, such as the base of the link, the empty, and the growing, swelling or inflammation of those nodes usually in response to an erection in one of the earths that is drained by the lymph nodes. If you got a respiratory infection, if you got a respiratory infection, you can you can feel the and you if the throat is infected, which lead to an inflammation on throat, and usually and accompanied with swollen lymph nodes under the jaw, which are the result of the immune response. Why did the swollen lymph nodes emerge? Because after the infection, the T cell or B cell will quickly to proliferation, and after the activation, which caused the expand of lymphonodes. So this would be this is what to say? This is means that the lymph nodes is a very key organs for immune response. If you have if you already infected by a bacteria in your throat, near the throat, the lymph nodes will expand because the bacteria will activate your T cell or B cell in the lymph nodes, and the T cell or B cell after the activation, they will quickly to action, such as proliferation and more cell filled the lymph nodes. So the lymph node will bigger than before, right? So if you understand it, you can see the lymph nodes is the very key organ for immune response. And another key organ for immune response is spleen. The spleen is the major site immune response to blood-borne antigens. It is usually the it is usually pure purple in corner and located in the upper left of the abdomen. The spleen is located behind the stomach in front of the diaphragm and next to the left kidneys. The spleen can vary in size and shape dramatically. The spleen contains large amount of blood that periodically passes into the circulation by contraction of some tiny muscle that around it. We can see the picture. There are two different parts to the spleen, each with a different function. The red purple is named because of its corner and its role to filter the blood. It does this by having tiny holes in the blood vessels that only allow some taps or blood cells through. The blood cells that are a little older or in any way defective are not affectable through the squeezes through those holes and so get trapped. Those stuck cells are then eaten by the macrophage. So the red part is named red purples, and the middle of these organs is named white purples. The red purples is basically areas of lymphoid tissue in the middle of the spleen. There are areas filled with T cell and B cells. They make up about 5 to 20% of the spleen, and there are lots more of the B cell in younger people than there are in the older people, and the number of the spleen decreases with age. So the function of the spleen is the site of hemocyte residence, and the site of immune response, and produce more active substance such as complement. And another is a function two of filtration. Filtration what? Filtration plot. So this is the spleen function. And the last, we will introduce the mucosa associated lymphoid tissues. The mucosa associated. Oh, sorry, this is something wrong. Continuous. Oh, shit. Continuous associated lymphoid systems and the mucosa associated lymphoid systems. One by one. The continuous associated lymphocyte systems. The mucosa, sorry, the mucosa associated lymphocyte tissues. Both the number of individual T or B cell and macrophage and plasma cells lied just below the mucosal epithelium in many regions of the alimentary, genitourinary, and res respiratory respiratory tracts, especially dense population of such cell can normally be found around the bone, the brown channel names, or in the liminal, the pre and submuscle of the large and more intelligence. The muscle we can see here it is a continuous associated lymphoid systems, and after the epicellus, below the epicellus is not several kinds of lymphocytes under exist here. We can see the structure of the below the epithelial. The lymphatic vessel, which responds for transforming the lymphocytes, and the venules responds for transfer the blood here. So here will so many kinds of cell arrived there for waiting. Waiting what? Waiting the infected foreign substance. And the mucosa associated lymphoid system at the same situation with the continuous. The mucosal surface of the intestinal and respiratory trace, like the skin and colonized by lymphocyte and APC that initiate immune response to ingested and inhaled antigens. Here is the same structure, the similar structure. The structure of here is similar with the continuous. It also not of lympho vessels and the venue. The lymphatic vessels is a response to transfer the lymphocytes, and the value is transform the blood, and so many kinds of lymphocytes arrived here to waiting the infection. Here we can see the episode there are M cell, the cell named M cell. The M cell is very important here. We can see the diagram over there. The immune response in intestinal lymphocytes. Here the big cell, the red line showed is the mucosal epithelium. And among the most mucosal epithelium, M cell hold there, locating there. And we can see the M cell is very strong cells, because at the bottom of the cell is empty, right? It's not so it is empty, but this empty zoo will contain another cells. Here we can see the macrophage hidden under the M cell. This structure will help the M cell to get a foreign substance. Just showed the here showed is the black stuff. I think it's black stuff. The foreign substance eat by the M cell and transfer it to the macrophage, and the macrophage and degrade it and present the antipeptides to the TH cell, and the TH cell will help the B cell to differentiate it to plasma cell, and finally the plasma cell will produce the antibody Here is the IgG-A. The IgG-A have the ability to transfer the cell and into into out of the cell. The IgG arrived the out of the cell will touch with the substance, the foreign substance. So like this, the response, the immune response will be have a good good I think a good effective for against the infection in the in in intestinal intestinal nervous systems. So we can understand the function of the MTL or CTL. The first line of the defense against the foreign antigens and the site of immune response and participate in delayed hypersensitivity, hypersensitivity. Okay, here is the showed another part of this part. Other point of this part knowledge. It means homing and recirculation of left side. The homing of left side is the process by which particular subset of lymphocytes selectively enter some tissue but not others is called left side homing. We already know the left side is origin or produced in the bone marrow. And after the differentiation in bone marrow, the B cell and the T cell maturation in the stemmas, it will not stay the bone marrow or stemmas forever. They must be out of there. They will go to the lymph nodes or spleen by blood vessels arrived to the lymph nodes and the spleen. This process named homing. The key point here is the HEV. And the cell have the home receptor on the surface. And the left nodal vessels have the ligands on the endothelial cells. The homing and receptor and ligands will interact for each other. It means the cell arrived at the right place. Here showed the left side in the blood enter the blood, live in the blood and enter the lymphoid tissues across the walls of high endogenous values. Circulating lymphocytes enter the high endothelial values in the lymph nodes. Binding of L-selectin to glycams-1 and CD34 allow the rounding interaction. So this reconciliation helps the cell to locate the surface of the values, and then the LFA1 is activated by chemokines bound to intracellular matrix. It means another molecule to help the T cell, the cell, the lymphocytes to locating, and the later more and more molecular expressions. So help the cell into the lymph nodes. This process named homing. And another name is another part is recirculation of lymphocytes. The process lymphocytes circulate repeatedly among the blood and lymphoid organs and tissues, just like blood recirculation. How to understand the existence of, or how to understand the phenomenon? On the other words, how to what's the signification about the recirculation of lymphocytes. Here is a list 4 significance. This cycle will guarantee the distribution of lymphocytes in peripheral immune organs is more reasonable, and update the lymphocyte in lymphoid tissues, and increase the opportunity for memory of T cell or B cell contact with antigen and APC, and get the immune organs and the tissue to contact as an organic home. So we can, in this class, we talk about the organs, the immune organs, and the tissues, the membrane, the squamous, and the muscle mucosa associated lymphoid tissues, and those organs or tissues together with as I think is make the organic home to together help us or make up the home systems. Now, okay, today's contents is here. Any questions?
老师，老师。
Okay, 那 class is over.
OK，老师 ，Thank you，老师。
谢谢老师，谢谢老师，再见。